Alright, so in this video, we'll be going over NFL Sunday for week one. First game we have is the Bears versus Titans. Bears won 24 to Titans 17. Honestly, the Bears had me really scared in the first half. Like, we were down like 17 points. Caleb Williams took a really bad sack in the second quarter, and also a drop punt by Velus Jones Jr. really set us back a lot. Like, it basically led them scoring three on us. And honestly, the Titans played better than I thought. Those were my thoughts from the game. Notable players. For the Bears, Caleb Williams had 14 for 29 for 92 yards, 3 carries for 17 yards. Jonathan Owens, he blocked a punt that carried it to a touchdown. Um, Tyreek Stevens had a pick six for the lead and 4 tackles. Uh, Darrell Daryl Taylor, the guy who I said in one of my TikToks saying like the delusions tell me he'll be a good pick. He actually was a good pick because the man gave us 2 sacks, like really crucial sacks. And then TJ Edwards had 15 total tackles. He was just on one in terms of just like finding the ball and just kind of getting people to like go back down. And then Jalen Johnson had an interception at the end to kind of like seal the game. And already we have this right here, Titans. I ain't gonna worry about that right now because it's like 12:33 when I'm recording because I make these PowerPoints. Will Levis, 18 for 29 for 129 yards, a touchdown, and 2 picks. 4 carries for 36 yards and a fumble loss. Tony Pollard has 16 rushes for 82 yards and a touchdown and 3 receptions for 12 yards. He was actually really good for Titans this game. Calvin Ridley, he had like 7 targets, but he came down with 3 receptions of 50 yards. I mean, like he was our best receiver. And Jaquan Jackson, I just mentioned him because he had 9 returns for 157 yards, which I thought that was pretty cool. My first take is the Bears offense. Like we already knew going to it, like the defense already kind of proved itself, but now it's just time for the offense. There was no offensive touchdowns, even though we still won mainly because we got carried by the defense, and 147 yards total of offense. The last one with that being our thing was in 2006. So yeah, really bad game from like the offense at least for like today. And honestly, like again, like I understand it's like oh we have a elite defense, which I mean yeah, it's true. Like we do have an elite defense. However, I don't think it could be very sustainable. So honestly, my take is Caleb probably has like his worst game because all rookies have that thing where it's like they have that one bad game, but they played good. And I think Caleb Williams had that bad game. My take two for the Titans. They played a lot better than I thought. Defense was a lot more dominant. Which I mean, look at the roster. They had L'Jarius Sneed, they had Simmons, and they have like that sort of shit, like those two mainly. A lot of good defensive pieces. Will Levis played well against the Bears defense, honestly. Tony Pollard played great, actually. 92 total yards and a touchdown. It was a good start for his like time with the Titans. And Calvin Ridley was still pretty good. My take is the Titans honestly have a bright future. Game 2, Steelers versus Falcons. I did not watch this game. Steelers scored 18 points into the Falcons 10. Defense was present throughout. One touchdown by Kirk Cousins to Kyle Pitts. Yes, all of the Steelers' points was by field goal kicks. And Justin Fields played well and is the starter. Yeah, he did become the starter just because of like announcements from like Russell Wilson was ruled out. But in the time, Justin Fields, he went 17 for 23 passes for 156 yards and 14 rushes for 57 yards. He basically led the team in both. I don't think he led the team in rushing. I think Najee had a little bit more rushing yards, but still, he was really good. Number 3, Cardinals versus Bills. Cardinals lost 28 to Bills 34. Josh Allen's had a dominant game. Who held these receivers? Kyler Murray did well too. Very offensive heavy. The main focus was Josh Allen with 18 for 23 passes, 232 yards, 2 touchdowns with no interceptions, and he also had 9 rushes for 39 yards, 2 touchdowns, and a loss. Only one turnover this game to 4 touchdowns in total is pretty wild, in my opinion. Next up is Patriots versus Bengals. Did not watch this game. Patriots upsetted the Bengals. They were honestly slowed by their defense. Jacoby Brissett was not bad this game. Very run heavy. And Ramondre Stevenson, 25 carries for 120 yards and a touchdown and 3 receptions for 6 yards. Again, really dominant. This game. This is honestly one of those games where it's just kind of like I kind of gonna regret not watching this. However, I was still like watching like some highlights. And a lot of it was mainly just Joe Mixon, which I'll get to him later. Texans win 29 to Colts 27. Very offensive game. Only one pick by Anthony Richardson by Kalen Bullock. Colts secondary looked good, but again, the run defense failed them. Which, I'm just going to skip through it. Joe Mixon had 30 carries for 159 yards and a touchdown. CJ Stroud had 24 for 30 passes for 234 yards and 2 touchdowns. Nico Collins had 6 receptions for 117 yards. Stephon Diggs had 2 touchdowns. Anthony Richardson had 9 for 19 passes for it's also 212 yards, 2 touchdowns and an interception, and 6 rushes for 56 yards. Alec Pierce had 3 receptions for 125 yards and a touchdown, which Anthony Richardson for like that pass, it was just like a quick like 60 yard just bomb down it. Like literally he was kind of like doing like a fadeaway fling, which that was pretty good. And Ashton Dolan had 1 reception for 54 yards and a touchdown. So that was like the honestly main stats for it. Next up is Jaguars versus Dolphins. Jaguars lost to Dolphins by 3 points. The score was 17-20. Trevor Lawrence played pretty well. Being pulled over did not stop Tyreek Hill at all from being dominant. Yeah, that was fun. Yeah, he got pulled over before the game, but was still able to play the game. The Dolphins just flamed that ball because Tua went 23 for 37 passes for 338 yards and a touchdown. In a trio of Hill, Waddle, and Atkin went 19 receptions for 315 yards plus a touchdown by Tyreek Hill. Bets for the Saints. Did I watch? And honestly, I'm glad. 37 points given up by the Saints unanswered is a little crazy from the Panthers. And honestly, my only reaction is just damn. 2 Bryce Young's receptions, like. Because here's the thing, it's like we all knew for a fact he had like the skills to play quarterback, but like he doesn't have the body to play quarterback. Like that's honestly like the main thing. It's like he just doesn't lack the body to do it. And that's just kind of what it is, because he went 13 for 30 for 161 yards and 2 interceptions. However, he had 4 carries for 12 yards and a touchdown. However, Derek Carr, 19 for 23 passes for 200 yards and 3 touchdowns. And overall, the Saints like running game, 37 carries for 180 yards and 2 touchdowns was insane. Vikings versus Giants. Vikings won 28 to Giants 6. Sam Darnold played well, and Jalen Jones is also cooked. And my honestly reason for it is Sam Darnold went 19 for 24 for 208 yards and 2 touchdowns and an interception. 3 rushes for 3 yards, which is pretty good. However, Daniel Jones went 22 for 42 passes for 186 yards, 2 interceptions, 6 carries for 15 yards. Honestly, get ready to learn the Canadian accent, Daniel Jones. Cowboys versus Browns. Cowboys won 33 to Browns 17. Honestly, very boring game until the 4th quarter, where the Browns actually did something. Cowboys. 6 sacks, a lot of penalties on the Browns line, 2 interceptions, and 8 pass deflections by this defense was insane to watch. Brandon Aubrey, 15 points in total, and Kevontae Turpin, first return touchdown. It was on a punt return. However, he got the first one. So that was pretty nice. Deshaun Watson, 24 for 45 passes for 169 yards and a touchdown and 2 interceptions, 5 carries for 39 yards. Jerome Ford had 12 rushes for 44 yards and a touchdown, and offensive line allowed 6 sacks in total and a lot of penalties. My only take really for this game is that the Browns really just need anything. They didn't need Chubb back or to drag on the field, or they need a quarterback. Deshaun Watson has not really played well because even though yes he does, there was a stat where he said like he was like 5-1 in the last 6 games. However, it was in spite of him. That's what people are not considering. Running game was terrible. 19 rushes for not even 100 yards was insane. And the receivers don't do a lot. It was more of Watson than them. However, if they did have Nick Chubb, it would open up the receivers a lot more to it. So honestly, just anything. Either they just need a new quarterback, where they're just like put Winston in, or just like trade Watson for someone better, or Nick Chubb is healthy. It actually gets to play, sorry for yawning. Game 10, Raiders versus Chargers. Chargers won by 6. Raiders only scored 10 points. Minshew is the starter. I thought Aiden O'Connell was the starter. That was honestly my only take looking at the stats, but apparently that's what it is. And what I like to call the new duo for the Chargers, the LA Ravens. played well. And you can tell by J.K. Dobbins had 10 carries for 135 yards and a touchdown, 3 receptions for 3 yards. And Gus Edwards basically dragged the Gus bus for 11 carries for 26 yards and a reception for 2 yards. Next up was Broncos versus Seahawks, and oh my god, I made another mistake. I'm just gonna say what it is. Hold on, let me just look it up. Let me just double check real quick. They scored 26 points to the Broncos 20. They're meant to be 26. They still got the win. Bo Nix played alright. Noticeable players is Kenneth Walker III, 20 rushes for 103 yards and a touchdown was pretty nice, and 2 receptions for 6 yards. Commanders versus Buccaneers. Did not watch this game. Commanders had 20 points to the Buccaneers 37. Jaden Daniels actually played pretty well. And overall, this is a game of like run versus pass. Because Jaden Daniels had, he had 17 for 24 passes for 184 yards. However, this man rushed the ball 16 times as a quarterback for 88 yards and 2 touchdowns. Not 1, 2. And Baker Mayfield being the opposite was like, hey, I'm going to fling this ball for 4 touchdowns 30 times and complete 24 of them for 289 yards. However, I'm just going to run the ball like 3 times, get like 21 yards, honestly. And then the last game I watched was Lions versus Rams. Lions won 26 to Rams 20. This went into overtime. Some of the players played better and worse than I thought. An overall fun conclusion to the game. Dan Montgomery basically averaged like 8 yards a carry for that last drive. He was just dragging everyone up the field. Ignore this stuff. Lions, Jared Goff, 18 for 28 passes for 217 yards and a touchdown, interception. Dave Montgomery, basically for the win, 17 carries for 91 yards and a touchdown. And Jameson Williams, 5 touches for 210 yards and a touchdown. He also had a rush for 13, which I forgot to mention. And Matthew Stafford, 34 for 49 passes for 317 yards, a touchdown and interception was pretty good. And Cooper Kupp, 14 receptions for 110 yards and a touchdown. One I take for the Lions is that Jameson Williams was honestly a lead addition to his offense. He distracts from many of the offensive players. So, like, Amon-Ra gets more touches, Sam Laporta gets more opportunities, David Montgomery and Gibbs has more opportunities. And plus, even Matthew Stafford, not Matthew Stafford, Jared Goff. I wish Matthew Stafford's back on the team. But Jared Goff has like more options to like run plays with. And even then, it's like all this is even possible because they're backed by the best offensive line in the league in the Lions. So overall, it's like it's pretty like good. Also, like Jason Williams is a little bit more dynamic for a receiver because he actually has some like rushing yards into it. He had like 10 rushing yards, I think, which is still like pretty good. Which is like, well, honestly, what leads my take is I think Jameson Williams is going to take his team to the next level, mainly just because of the fact of just like how offensively versatile he is as a player and how much that can impact the team as a whole. And tomorrow's later game is Jets versus 49ers, so stay tuned later today where I'll draw my prediction, and then later that night I will talk about what did I think about the game. So that's be it. Signing off, everyone. Later.